It's a big challenge because they're not solutions for circular economy. It's a huge logistical enterprise. And in Nairobi, over many years, it became a commercial enterprise. And so you have all these companies being paid to take garbage to the final disposal site, which is Dandora, based on the weight, but not based on how clean the areas were given were. And so we thought about it. I commissioned some research onto it. And we said, look, the problem that we have is, number one, you have not ring-fenced resources, because there's three things you must do to clean the city. I've sat with the mayor of Addis, Adenach. I've looked at Lagos. I've looked at London. I've looked at Cape Town and Johannesburg, where they have picked it up company. Lagos has Lagos Waste Management Authority, and there are many examples. Number one, you need manpower. You need actual people cleaning the streets, sweeping, picking up the trash. When I became governor, the last time that environmental officers had been employed in Nairobi was in the 80s. 80s. And so you find an entire constituency with 3 people, 4 people. You know, if you look at like Westlands, for instance, all the way from Karura to Kangemi, coming down almost to the CBD, 4 elderly ladies were in charge. Embakasi East constituency, Utawala, Mihango, you know, Upper Savannah, Lower Savannah, Donholm, all of those places. But I think 6 women in their 50s to clean it. What did I do? I hired the Green Army. So now we had the manpower. And the manpower was available to clean. And I'm sure if you live in this city, you've seen those kids with their overalls, you know, cleaning and, you know, sweeping, picking up the garbage. Number 2, equipment. There had not been investment in the proper equipment by the city. When I was growing up in this city, we used to have what we called Camero that would come every Tuesday and Thursday, and we had bins, NCC bins, that you knew you take out your trash on this day, and the council will come and pick it up. And we had those, you know, skips, you know, in our estates. I was here just in Gara. The first year, I bought 24 tippers. The second year, I bought 27 refuse compactors. I've increased the fleet, you know, almost 3-fold to bridge the equipment gap. So you have trucks and you have people. So you have equipment and the people. The third is the logistics around it. And so what happens is that when it's a department in the city, you are relying on revenue because you must fuel the trucks. They don't run on air. You must buy spare parts. You must pay those salaries. Now, when exchequer delays, and I gave you the example, counties have last gotten money in February, the on-source revenue, which I've told you only 20% are paying, where does it go to? To pay salaries. And so you have the kids who have picked up the trash. Today in my group, one of my WhatsApp groups of old boys of a very good school, formerly called the Duke of York.
That's right, you remember that?
Yes. And in that group I see someone, John Ojara, posted about the heaps of what has been cleared from the drainage on the side of the road.
Correct.
Of course, you must let it dry a bit, because if you just pile it in the truck, the weight is too much with the water, But he says, look, it'll rain and it'll go back in. Because when on-source revenue has not come in, what happens? You can't fuel the trucks. So you have trucks that are not fueled and you have kids cleaning the streets. How do you sort that out? By creating an entity that ring fences the resources to do that. That is why we have a company called Nairobi Water. Nairobi Water Company, Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company, was formed by City Council of Nairobi out of the water department in the city, because the needs had outgrown being managed in that structure of the council. And so you have a company with a CEO, with a board, with its own resources, with its own budget, but it's audited. It's a private company owned by a public entity, which is the county government of Nairobi. And that's what we have done. We've set up Green Nairobi Limited that will have its own board. I'm going to announce the board in a few days. I want a proper, open, transparent recruitment process of the board members, people who have knowledge on circular economy, on recycling, on waste to energy, on logistics, on IT. it'll have its CEO, it'll have its resources, and it'll have, remember, back in the day, Jeff, I know, anyway, if I say back in the day, you'll go back to the 30s or 40s, that's environment.
Correct.
And so you are paying for your garbage by paying for water. That is what we are introducing. That every Nairobian, through paying for their water, will be paying a percentage, around 10%, we're discussing with WASREP, will go into sorting out
the garbage.
Because today, Nairobians, you pay for your own security, you pay for your own bowser for water, you pay for your own garbage. What is the city doing for you? So we're taking that up. Now the company might and will contract, private contractors to some extent to increase the capacity. I've signed a waste-to-energy deal for Dandora to produce 45 megawatts of power. China National Electric and Engineering Company in Dandora dam site. We're concluding the negotiations with EPRA on what we call the tariff of how much the power will be. Just that signing is giving me another 200 trucks. Because you must solve the problem practically, Yeah. So it's not something to wish away. Oh, I wish you could just collect the garbage. Yes, you need the people and the equipment. Nairobi never had that. It never had that. And so very soon, I promise you my target. And if this I don't do, don't re-elect me. Don't. I don't want to come back in office. This city is going to be clean, sparkling clean. But those things must be done. And they take some time to be done. And so we'll have the board. We have done the logistics. We're setting up the plant in Dandora. We're setting up the headquarters of this company in Kangundo Road. People asked, why are we seeing a company set up and we're seeing individuals' names as shareholders? This is Sakaja's company. You want to be a contractor. This company, first of all, will not be paid by Nairobi County. Number two,
who's going to pay them?
The public and those who receive their services. But number two, county governments are corporate entities. When Nairobi Water was set up, the shareholders were three. One, City Council of Nairobi. And I can give you the documents. Number two, Joe Akech, the mayor.
The mayor.
Number three, Mr. Mbugwa, the town clerk. They hold that position in trust for the people, in trust for the city. But they have one share, and the county has 98 shares. Today, the shareholders of Nairobi, if I was called of Nairobi Water, if I was called an AGM, it's just three of us. Because it's the county government, the governor of Nairobi, I'm a shareholder, the CEC for Green Nairobi, Maureen Jerry, and the county secretary. One share and 98% shares by the county government. So it's not because the Business Registration Service, BRS, at the Attorney General's office, recognizes individuals. So a corporate entity is a person. You know that. A business is a person. And so is an individual. And so people are trying to, politics, man. People are trying to bring politics and say, oh, now I put my cronies. Am I that dumb, surely? I doubt. To create a company to make no, I want to clean the city. Jeff, you know how old I am.
Yeah, you just
I just turned 40 in February.
You just entered the fourth floor.
I'm too young to retire. I will not do such a stupid thing. I will clean the city. I'll sort it out. The same way we've done marvelously on school feeding. 316,000 children today eating every single day at 5 shillings. Built 17 central kitchens. They have done on healthcare with all these ICUs, with the theaters, with the drugs, sorting out and creating and building more hospitals is what we'll do to clean. Because cleaning a city is the one thing that is not about any class, social class. The wealthy and the poor want a clean city, want a clean environment, want to be proud of their capital. I went to Addis the other day when Baba was in Addis. And they're like, look, the lights. Oh, no. I'm like, yeah, okay, them, they're low. First of all, the government owns everything.
Everything.
And they'll move you out
Ethiopian Airlines
in a minute, But I said, look, Nairobians deserve that. Go to the CBD today. It's clean. I removed all these hanging signs. You couldn't walk. M-Pesa, Palamba, ask for you what, fix your phone. And then down, they're hawkers. So either you step on someone's nyanya or you hit your head. Go walk tomorrow on Tomboya. Take your cameras there. You have many cameras here.
Yeah.
See. Go to Tomboya tomorrow. Go to Moy Avenue. Go to Accra Road. People are enjoying. The public is enjoying it. And we're doing the walkways.
But in places like Kawangware,
yeah,
stinks to high heaven.
It's the same issue. That dumps Gitanga Road. It's a Gitanga Road. There too.
Correct.
In Kawangware, there's Gitanga and there's Salim. Yeah. You clear it in a day. Illegal dumping. In less than 24 hours, it is full. Because many of these operators, because they have no incentive to get to Dandora, collect money from your house in Lavington and dump it in Kawangware.
That's not right.
It's not right. It's not right. I have discussed with the IG of police, with the DIGs, on setting up 2 units, anti-dumping and anti-vandalism. We put street lights. From your money, street lights. I did the whole of Ngong Road, I've done Karen, I've done Westlands, I've gone to Donholm. You put them up, huge budgets. In a day, I saw somebody sharing a video on TikTok about a guy just cutting a barrier on the road and everyone is just watching them. It's your money. It's your money. You're cutting the barrier for scrap metal dealership. So this, I mean, I'll give you an example, Isili. And I've sat with the Isili business community. I have my environmental officer there, I think it's called Ngeno, and the sub-county admin, Mulema. They clean the entire road and the carriageway, the carriageway and the island. In 2 hours, all those restaurants and malls have paid Vijanas 50 shillings each to take their garbage out. It's back on the road. You see somebody in a matatu eating a banana or crisps or whatever, throwing it out, then saying Sakaja is not cleaning the city. I put bins in the CBD. I put bins. Scrap metal dealers take it. In fact, now the ones I'm bringing in, and they're coming very soon, are fiberglass. They have no value to scrap metal dealers. Because there's vandalism. This city, I would love us to own it. That's why, you remember when I first visited, I said, I am Nairobi. If you don't own it, then you'll just watch a guy vandalizing. You'll watch somebody picking. They steal the lights and the cables. So one of my MCAs, the MCA for Edaka, he's a very smart guy. He's the leader of minority. He told me what he did. He made sure that in his area, when you do the lights, he cuts them up into 20 meters each. And then cuts, because you can't sell that. Because they take them, coil them up, and sell them. So I really need to run a campaign. And I agree, Jeff, a big part of the problem is how we communicate and explain these things to Nairobians. And that's why I'm here. Because people must understand that, yes, the intention to do it is there. Jeff, I'll come with my manifesto.
Oh, thank you.
What I promised Nairobians and what I've done. And so we committed to do these things, but this is the challenge. Let's work together. It says, let's make
Nairobi work.
Not let Sakaja make Nairobi work. It's us together. Because I will not be there when somebody is throwing a banana peel, or when somebody is dumping into the drainage and tomorrow it floods.
You won't be there.
But all of us must be there. If we own this as our city, then we will protect it.
By the way,
and the legal framework for it is at the assembly. Number 3, our working universal healthcare. I've explained to you what I'm doing in healthcare. Number 4, efficient mobility. I'm doing my part on mobility. The European Investment Bank. And so what we have in Nairobi is something called NAMATA, Nairobi Area Metropolitan Transport Authority. And there are 2 interventions. Number 1 was the BRT, Bus Rapid Transit.
That lipstick thing we saw on Thika Superhighway?
Because the problem with our public transport in Nairobi is that the only public thing is the passenger. It's private. And so they committed 300 and something million euros by the EIB, European Investment Bank, 74 million euros by AFD. It took me 2 years to get cabinet approval. Not my cabinet, national. They did in December last year. To date, the financing, I'm pushing them to ask the financing request for line 3, from Dandora to Ngong. There are 5 lines. There's Ndovu, Kifaru, Simba, Chui, there's Jogo Road. That will sort us out to a great extent. But look at this. I was in Paris, where I got some support for the school feeding program. Because During the Africa Climate Summit, the president had taken, all these ministers came from around the world. So the French Minister for State, at that time her name was, still a name, but the one who was in that position at that time is Chrysula, and to see her in Paris. And she told me, Governor, the French government has given 3 billion euros to Abidjan to do a metro.
3
billion euros. Right now, France is looking outside Francophone, looking at Anglophone countries. Why can't you guys ask for this? I came back, I looked for Engineer Tirop, my chief officer. I said, give me the plan that JICA had. JICA has the plan that they did for the metro.
Correct.
I've asked the national government, ask for this. We need that metro system in Nairobi. You see, our constitutional structure, the counties can't borrow. The PFM Act prevents us from borrowing.
And you can do PPPs?
We can do PPPs. We can. That's what we're doing with housing. That's what's happening in Woodley. That's what's happening now soon in Ziwani, in Kariobangi. I'm building those houses through PPP. I don't have a housing levy, but we're doing it through PPP. Woodley, 43 houses are giving me 1975 houses. 1,975. So this mass transit, and today I've had a very interesting discussion with the Prime Minister Raila Odinga. I went to see him to discuss many things. And he told me about the S-Bahn in Germany. That on top of what I want the metro and the BRT, the old rail system from Ngong Road coming down to town, from Dagoretti, the one that goes to Ruiru, goes to Githurai, Kasarani Githurai, all that. The Germans have the capacity to actually electrify and put the equipment. So incidentally, this morning my PA, Justin, tells me that there's a request from Berlin to partner with us, sister city. And so Baba says, yeah, let's go, let them do that, because he was the longest serving MP in Nairobi, 25 years. Yeah? So all of this, unfortunately, also relies on that agreement with the national government. But we've made progress, and I want to thank the president, because we've agreed to set up what we call the Capital City Coordinating Committee between us, that I will chair, and I'll have the PSs of different line ministries that affect Nairobi, because Nairobi is the seat of national government, it's a county government, it has, what do you call this? It has diplomatic capitals. I met the head of logistics of UNICEF in New York. They're bringing more than 200 staff to Nairobi. It must work, but you must coordinate all these things, So that is the fourth promise. The fifth, Jeff, you can go through all of this. It's a scorecard. What I promised, I am sticking to, and I'm doing and delivering.
Okay.
Yes, it takes time. You will not change the world in a day. But people must understand that we also have a role to play, Jeff. When you go to town and you refuse to pay parking fees, and you park your car,
I'll be clamped.
Or you might pay a parking boy 100 shillings.
To watch for you.
And so? You don't want that pothole fixed?
Yes, please.
I created a no cash policy in Nairobi County. Any cash you pay, just know it's not coming to the county. We're the first county to fully digitize all revenue streams, all 150 revenue streams. You can only pay through *647# or www.nairobiservices.go.ke. That is why we surpassed all these, previous collections. Yet it's not enough. Not everyone is complying. So now when you get into enforcement and compliance, people shouldn't think that we're being bad. Because it's not fair, Jeff. I know where you stay. That you pay rates and your neighbor doesn't pay.
Yeah.
You're paying for them to get water. We've added 140 million liters per day. I told you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Our challenge had been not seeing far. The last water project in the city was 1994 to 1997, targeting a population of 2002 of 2 million people. Today we're 7 million people. Yeah? The first one, 1906. I've told you before.
Yeah.
1906, Kikuyu Springs, 6,000 cubic meters. 1928, Ruiru Dam. 1956, Sasumo Dam, 60 million liters a day. Now, Ndakaini, 94 to 97. Nothing else was done until we sat. And I want to thank our president. I told him, boss, please help us with NLC to pay the people on the way going to Kigoro. He did it, 500 million shillings. We used to get 525 million liters a day against our demand of 900 million liters. We've added by 140. There are areas in Nairobi that had never received water before. Today they're receiving water. Ask people in Karen. Langata are about to get, I commissioned a line from Bomas coming down because of the gradient through gravity. Water is coming, you know, and leave that alone because there's still a gap, yeah, from 900 to 525 plus 140. I've gotten support from some of our partners in Southeast Asia to do Northern Collector 2 and Maragua 4. They'll add 220 million liters a day. On top of that, I tasked my engineers. If you go to Gatundu North, we have Ngedu treatment plant. Ngedu is where the water from Dakaine and that system is treated. We lose 30 million liters a day through what we call the backwash filtration system. The water goes back into the environment. They have done what they call reverse backwash. I will save 30 million liters per day, which is half of Sasumwa at 2 billion shillings. So it is possible to do 250 million liters additional from the 140. We'll bridge the gap in 3 years. But it needs, you see, the problem with our constitutional structure, I can't make that financing request to Korea or to China or to the US or the World Bank or IMF. I have to go through the national government. And that is why the capital city needs that special engagement.
And maybe
isolate 10% of Kenyans from that gift. What happens, Jeff? Look at Canberra in Australia. They moved from Sydney and said, look, we want a seat of national government. They moved to Canberra. They moved from Lagos in Nigeria, they went to Abuja. They moved from Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, they went to Dodoma. They moved from New York and actually Philadelphia and moved to Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia. That's why Washington, D.C. has no senator. It has no governor.
Correct.
It just has the mayor of D.C., you know. So for Nairobi, if you want to take away that gift for those of us born in this city, we deserve devolution like everybody else. A growing and bustling economic capital for the sake of government administration. I love seeing how people don't know what's going on. Because, Jeff, tomorrow walk outside here, you'll find these ladies who wash clothes.
Yeah.
They wash clothes.
And they're sitting on the pavement.
They sit on the pavement on
waiting
Moringa
for
Road.
cars to drive up.
And sometimes they don't get a gig.
A lot of
sometimes they get. Do you know the peace they have knowing whether or not I get someone, my child is eating in school? That guy walks from Kibra or from Madare or Kangwari to Mjengo or to industrial area, trying for a job. He might be called in or not. Do you know the peace he has knowing that whether or not today I am brought in here at 5 shillings, my child is eating? And we ask the kids, what do you want us to add? He said, Japo. I'm feeding 316,000 children a day. The biggest feeding program on this continent.
So you buy
high school, but wearing this. Because we have a scholarship that, of course, they were stopped again by COB. That pays you pays for your fees from Form 1 to Form 4. She was wearing this, and I asked her, why are you wearing this? There's no feeding program in high school. He said, Your Excellency, if it was not for this, I would not be going to high school. Because I used to be bottom of my class. But when I came to school for the first time for a whole term, she was top in the city. She was one of the top 10 or 20 kids. And there are many such stories. There's a driver. His story is the most amazing. I love it. So, you know, our model is hub and spoke. So I have 17 kitchens, 1 per constituency, that feed all the schools in the constituency. So this one is from Toi Primary, feeds Kibra. This driver in the documentary, which actually was aired in Citizen, says he's seen something he's never seen before, because my trucks are branded Dishina County, you know, Dishina County. He says whenever he's going to Olympic Primary School or Ayani or Kibra, matatus move from the road. Everyone moves and they say, Pelekea watoto, Peter. Matatus don't even move for me, man, as a governor.
All right. Besides all those achievements, and
Yeah.
you know, it's only been 2 years and 8 months. Are you afraid of what some people call the curse of the Nairobi County governor?
No, my focus is not there. My focus.
But I mean, Kidero did one, Sonko did one.
I'm Sakaja. I'm not them. You know, Jeff, a politician looks at the next election, a leader looks at the next generation. The things I've described today, the things in here, the things we're actually doing, and that I want Nairobians to understand me, are not about the next election. They're about the next generation. I'm raising kids in this city. Yeah? I have children. I want them to have a city that they can be proud of one day. when it comes to times for politics, the time for politics, we'll play the politics. And we'll play it as other politicians. It is open for anyone. There's no one seat. But my proudest moment will not be having won a re-election, but having transformed Nairobi. With its challenges, no matter how difficult. I see to my colleagues, they're like, oh, my MCAs. I'm like, how many do you have? 30? I have 123. I have 17 MPs. I have 7 million people. My GDP is 28 billion. Rwanda is 11. It's like a country. But despite that, despite what I see on social media, despite every morning, I wake up and say, Saks, try again. And I do my best. I leave it to God. The next morning, I wake up without fail. And I keep doing my best. Activities that are then following the tradition of the Catholic Church will soon have a new Pope.
Yeah. Are you Catholic?
No, I'm not Catholic. But I respect the faith. I go to many Catholic churches. Of course, one of them said they'll return our offerings, but I believe in the Holy Catholic. I recite the Apostles' Creed. But secondly, and importantly, and as you mentioned, allow me to pass my deepest and sincere condolences to the people of Kariobangi North. We lost a member of County Assembly, Joel Munuve, who was Kimanzi, who was MCA for Kariobangi North. He collapsed at home. I don't know why you call it murder. I don't know. Maybe you have information, but the autopsy is tomorrow at 8 a.m. And we've asked for a full investigation to understand what happened. Because I don't think he had a history of illness, but we'll let the professionals tell us. Death is a serious thing. Death is not something that we can, play with or politicize. He was very firm, and he was very passionate about the issues he believed in. And the times we disagreed, but then also the times we agreed. We sat down, we had meetings, and I really wish, I spoke to his brother this morning. His brother is called John Kimanzi. I've spoken to him again this evening. I know they're doing the autopsy, and we'll support the family. But all this is in the hands of God. But what we want, to allay all this, whatever political speculations could be there or whatever it is a full investigation into what happened to Mheshimiwa. Yeah. That are charged with those responsibilities, And I think they should do their work. We have the police, we have our government pathologist. I think we'll also have an independent one. There are processes in this country that work, and they must work. Because if it was foul play, there must be justice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And really, I believe in the right of everyone to be who they are. And no one should ever think that any kind of dissent would be met with any form of violence. And so just to allay those fears and those rumors, full investigation must be done. The brother was distraught when we spoke to him. He told me he felt confused. He doesn't know what's going on. He's a bit more calm this evening. And really, you can never feel the pain of someone who's lost someone.
Yeah, true.
You can't.
True.
You can't. And we really wish them the best. I know the family, the wife and the child are traveling from Namibia. They're going to be coming in. But that's life. All of us are going.
At some point.
And it's God who decides when we go. Across the region, actually, not just Kenya. And if you look at the issues, even the issues we were discussing last week of climate change, the sheer amount of rain that is coming down is higher than ever before. And a lot of our drains were designed for a smaller capacity of a seasonal rain in the city. And so we got our green army. We have 3,800 youth who collect the garbage, remove the blockages, and they're doing a good job. They're doing a good job. But for real, we need to expand in some areas and look at the cost of it vis-a-vis, what you call an event that doesn't happen so often, And you see what happens. And an example I'll give you is Ojijo Road and Kipande Road in Parklands. There was always flooding there. Complete, terrible flooding. And I took a walk and I went there. Ojijo Road has a 1.2 meter drainage. When they did Thika Road, that's Kenha, did Thika Road and all that, they created that 1.2 meter drainage. It connects to a 0.6 meter drainage on Ojijo Road. And so science will tell you there'll be a backlog. And I implored upon Kenya, why don't you guys complete your job and add another 0.6 on Ojijo? On Kipande, sorry. To date, it doesn't flood. And so there are many of those fixes that we must keep doing, and we keep doing as a county. But, at the end of it, it's why you've seen governors, and you had the Right Honorable Prime Minister talking about the Road Maintenance Levy Fund. The resources to sort these things out are still held by the national government. And we said, look, the road maintenance levy, you pay for it. I think you pay a lot because of your car.
Yes.
Because everyone who buys fuel pays
a levy.
The levy is to fix roads.
Yes.
In our country, we have two categories of roads mainly. There's also international, but two categories. There's national roads and county roads. County roads are more than 65% of all the roads. But all that money goes to only national roads. So the road I was talking about intervening, Ojijo Kipande, is under the national government. Jogo Road, Agwin Square, all this under Kura, Kera. And so when I heard, and I was away when I heard the former Prime Minister saying that, look, all these agencies should be under counties. Why is the Kenya Rural Roads Authority doing roads in the CBD of Nairobi? It's not rural,
Yeah.
And so that discussion must be had. And I know we have a matter in court because the resources to sort that out, we know what needs to be done. We've sat with the engineers. I've sat with the engineers board. I've sat with our engineers in the city who are very competent. But the resources that are needed to expand that drainage are what must come to counties as right. So there's 10.5 billion that has not been held. It was frozen by the courts that should sort out that issue. And so I didn't shirk my responsibility because I had complaints about Mombasa Road, Uru Highway. That is not even, it's an international road. It's not under my purview. Jogo Road, Juja Road. I was here the other day in Hurlingham. And I went to the minister and I asked the president, please support us. And I'm very happy that for Nairobi, we've agreed on an arrangement, and right now we're going to do, once the rain subside, of course, because we can't do asphalt when it's raining. 2.6 billion worth of road works are going to be done in the city, across the city. And the Constitution and the Urban Areas and Cities Act envisages a special arrangement between Nairobi as the capital city and the national government. And so there's an arrangement that we want to use based on that to sort out many of these roads that would otherwise be ignored. And I've told you before, if you give a member of parliament who should do oversight, legislation, and representation, the work to also do roads, the allocation of roads will be political. So the member, I don't use examples, but a member would assign roads to a place with a higher population. So none will do your roads in Karen, none will do your roads in Westlands, none will do your roads in Jogo Road. A road that traverses many constituencies, none will touch. Yeah. And that's why it must be under the governors. And that's what we're saying. Under county governments. And that's why we have devolution.
In the meantime,
and you see these agencies, Kura and Kera and Kenha, were all formed before devolution. They were formed before we devolved governments. They were formed before even that designation of national and county roads. So many of these roads and many of the complaints I get, and I still send my people, are not roads under our purview. But we still have to do it. National government.
That's national.
National.
They've done a horrible job.
I don't want to blame them, but you know what we did? I went there with the CS teacher, all the way from ABC Place. We went all the way to Machakos County, under the expressway.
Yeah, downstairs.
There were two contractors. From just before ABC Place to Lesereni, there was one company, and from Lesereni down to Mlolongo, another company. And the one before, because of our discussions, has been removed, and they were another company. But you see, it's under the purview. They have the budget, they have the money, but the blame is the governor.
The governor. It's your city. Look, the other thing that...
It's not. It's your city. It's all our city. It's not. but at least there's progress there. And let me tell you, our president has done something amazing.
Other than this chapati thing?
They've securitized road maintenance levy fund, because there are many instruments financially you can use. And so a lot of the pending bills that were there, you know, the viaduct coming on Haile Selassie, the roads that CRBC had been doing in Nairobi, a lot of what NMS had started that are national projects are now being funded. And so in a few months, let the rain subside in June, mid-June, you'll see a big change.
You can promise Kenyans that?
I can promise Nairobians that. I can promise Kenyans that. Because it's actual discussions we've been having. You know, let me tell you, Jeff, there's no governor in this country who doesn't want all his roads fixed. Why? We also drive on the roads, you know, and we live in the cities, and we know the impact of doing them. We want it done, but let's also have the right proper governance structure and financing to the right place. You're paying, for every time you fuel up, Jeff, you pay money for roads. But 60% of the roads you pay for are not being factored in. Is that fair?
It's ridiculous.
It's not fair.
It's ridiculous.
So I mean, I can't assume what the courts will judge, but I hope, because it makes sense, you know, that it should be distributed equitably based on the responsibilities in the Constitution. Because let me tell you, those are huge falsehood. It was a lot of PR. Because let me tell you, they left me with 16 billion pending bills in 2 years. 16 billion pending bills. Which a lot of which I have to pay. A lot of what looked like was being done was not paid for. And that's why I'm saying the resourcing of the functions is as important as the function being assigned. How do you have a pending bill of 16 billion in 2 years? Remember, Nairobi County government in those 2 years under NMS gave 27 billion shillings, real money, not budget, money, to NMS. The national government also did projects. They did Uhuru Park, part of it, which also has a pending bill. They did Central Park. They did some of the hospitals and AMREF and whatnot. But still, despite the 27 billion we've sent you, still handling payroll as a county, you leave a bill of 16 billion. So it looks good, but it's superficial, it's fake.
How's that going to be?
It's 50,000 accounts carrying that burden on their shoulder. And so that is why, and I'm very happy the National Assembly passed the Rating Act, that I now have the power to enforce. I gave people a waiver, a grace period. I extended it until the end of this month to pay your rates. If you have a piece of land, now I have all the data of all of those 250,000 parcels. I know who is not on our database. And the law, if you look at Section 19 of the Rating Act, and reading from Section 17 coming down to 19, if you have an apartment block and you're not paying taxes, your rates, I can collect rent or put it under receivership or auction it. Because why are we letting a few people, it's not equitable, carry the burden for all of us. Nairobians want services. That's all they want. They want a clean city. They want water. We've made progress on water. We've added 140 million liters per day. We made progress on water, but it's not enough. There's still a gap. Because we receive 525 million liters a day, we need 900. So we've added 140. I'm really struggling to do 220, which we can do with Maragua 4 and Northern Collector 2. But Nairobians Nairobi is a service county, you know?
Yeah.
You want medicine in hospitals. But someone has to pay for it. So why would we then complain without playing our part, you know?
Okay,
Somebody has paid on time, you must pay by March. Somebody has paid on time, he has no penalty. You wait and say, oh, I know Sakaja will issue a waiver. There's no waiver. And we're going to enforce. You know, we'll clamp your buildings. If we have to, we'll collect rent on your behalf. We'll auction your property based on the value that you agreed on the valuation rule. And remember, Nairobi is the only county with an updated valuation rule in East Africa.
Okay.
The rest are in the 1980s. So let's
40 years.
Yeah, let's just pay our part. 8 billion. We owe them.
Since when?
Since
before your time?
Yes, before my time. It's old. It's an old debt because of Wiffs. you know. And the law talks about the bailiffs owed to counties. And they're doing two things. There's the bailiffs for power connection. The Energy Act 2019 then said, from 2019, they said that if you're to charge public energy infrastructure, you must get permission from the minister. Something I think is not legal, but anyway, it's a law. But all the bills before that, because no law acts retroactively or retrospectively, you know. But then there's something they're also doing now. There are people who used to pay us as a county to put fiber. They'd put fiber cables and they'd pay wages to the counties. Now they have said, put it on our poles because we are not paying the county, pay us. And they're not paying that's a commercial enterprise. That is not energy infrastructure. That's a commercial enterprise, you know.
Is that what you
so that's why if you walk outside here, Jeff, you will see a yellow cable, red, a green one, a blue one.
Yeah, you don't know which is
so
which.
all this GTL, Safaricom, who not, and so they announce profits. They need to pay their part, you know.
Is that why you dumped a whole truck full of sewage right in front of KPLC headquarters?
I didn't. And I reprimanded the officers who did that. That was not right. We reprimanded. We addressed that. I think that was completely wrong. It should not have been done. The building can be clamped, yes. The law tells us, actually in that same act that I've read, that for any defaulter, you can cut off county services, which include water and sewer, you know, and we cut off their water, because, look, we as a county, they claimed we owed them 3 billion. I said, okay, let's do a review, you know, let's do, an analysis of that, a reconciliation. It moved from 3 billion to 1.5 billion, Jeff. Because everything must have a meter, must have an account. And they both parties signed off. We found accounts in Turkana, the Nairobi County had been paying for. We found accounts in Kisii, in Kiambu, butcheries, businesses, that the city council and county government from the first one to the second one to the had been paying for. And I said, look, first remove those. It moved from 3 billion to 1.5, both have signed off. And I told them, okay, let's do a payment, because I acknowledge the debt. But of course, I have to break it down. And we said, we'll pay you this amount every month on top of our current debt. There's no current debt that we've not paid. The current we always pay. So we said, okay, now that is done, you owe me 5.8 billion. What's up?